What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade, basketball analysis, holding it down for AnalysisPlayground.com. With more playoff coverage, we're going to talk about the Atlanta Hawks going home and blowing out the Milwaukee Bucks with and without Giannis. They have tied the series 2-2. And everybody thought that Trae Young was the heart, the soul, and everything to this team, which he is. And they came out with urgency. They was getting loose ball. They was reaching. They was going for the passing lane steals. They was shooting a bunch of threes. They was getting up and down the court pushing it. Lou Williams was able to find Clint Capella with the dunks. He was able to pass to the shooters. He was able to attack when he had the right matchup, and he was able to spot up and even put the ball down on the court and make plays. So we knew that Lou Williams could play. We knew what he brings to the table, and he had a great shooting game on top of that, and a must-needed W, because if they lose this game, they go down 3-1, and they don't have Trae Young, and we don't know when he's coming back, and it looks like the series would definitely be over. But now with this series being 2-2, and we do know that Trae Young can come back, we don't know where Giannis is going to be at. Usually when you hyperextend, you out for weeks. I know y'all don't want to hear that as Bucks fans, but if you hyperextend your body, and we don't even know if that's really it until you get the scans and the tests, when they really can look at the knee, it looks like Giannis might be done for the series. And it's going to be up to Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday to step up. The sad part about that is, like I've been telling y'all in all my videos that I covered the Bucks, Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton usually never have good games at the same time. Is either one goes off in Giannis or the other goes off in Giannis. And the last game it was Middleton. This game Drew Holiday picked it up a little bit, but Middleton really didn't have a dominant 25, 30-point game in this one. And you don't want to see that because Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday are $100 million players. They're former All-Stars, and they still are at the peak of their powers, but they're definitely going to have to turn it up a notch, because if you can't rely on your role players, somebody's going to have to give you buckets if it ain't going to be Giannis, and it's going to have to be those two. But they can't get embarrassed like they did tonight. Bogdanovich got off to a rocky start, but they still had the lead. And he got off to a blazing second half, and it extended their lead. And the Hawks just looked at fresh. They was able to just go out there and play. They wasn't really worried about anything. They kept it simple with their schemes and what they was running. They didn't run anything crazy. They didn't run anything hard. They ran a lot of pick and roll with Lou Williams and Herter. Herter, I got to give him credit. We know him as a spot-up shooter. He was able to dribble and handle the ball a little bit, knock down some mid-ranges off the dribble, knock down some floaters off the dribble, and I thought that was hugely impressive, because they're going to need him to do that if Trae Young is not going to be there, because Lou Williams can't do everything. It's going to be moments when he's on the bench. It's going to be moments when he's not going to be able to roll, because they might send double teams and traps like we seen them do to Trae Young in game two. So they're going to need guys that can make shots. And the Hawks got guys that can do it. Cam Reddish finally came back. Danilo had a good game, being able to shoot some threes and affect the game in other ways. I think they're going to need a little bit more from John Collins, who has been hit or miss depending on games, but they're going to need him to be big and strong on the offensive glass, but also being able to score every once in a while when they give him the ball. Clint Capella did his job. He rebounded the heck out of the ball, and he dominated the paint. And he killed Brook Lopez and a lot of guys by rolling to the rim and just finishing. He got a lot of offensive rebounds where he kicked it out and let the guys drop some clock and get into one of their sets. So I think everybody knew what they was. Everybody knew their game, and they didn't really try to force guys to get out of their comfort zone. They didn't really demand guys to play up to a higher level. I feel like everybody does and did what they normally do. It's just that the Bucks never adjusted, and the Bucks can never go on a strong run to really, quiet the fans, quiet the Hawks, and kill their confidence, they just got up and down and just came at the Bucks every possession, and the Bucks never had no answer defensively. They just didn't. And even when it looked like the Bucks could make a run, the Hawks just kept pouring it on and pouring it on. And this is a game that you don't want to see because the Hawks look totally in control from the start of the game all the way to the ending. Even when the Bucks upped their pressure and forced them to bring the ball up hard, the Hawks still got decent offense out of that. It slowed them down, and they was able to score a couple buckets in a row, but not enough because after that, 2-3 minutes later, the Hawks went on another run and was able to extend their lead or get it back to where it was before. So this is going to be a deciding moment for Mike Budenholzer to see what coach he really is. He has been getting the bulk of his criticism for being a bad playoff coach, not playing guys the right minutes, not using the right lineups, not using the right schemes, or not changing his game plan up inside the games. He usually just sticks with his bread and butter and just keep it like that. And we've seen him make changes in game two, and then they was able to steal game three because of Middleton getting hot and Trae Young going down. Now without Giannis, one of the biggest defenders, rebounders, and scorers on your team is down, and we don't know when he's going to come back. Plus, he's predicated on athleticism. He needs his speed. He needs his explosion to be his full self on both ends of the court. That injury is not going to help him on that. It's going to make him worse, especially if he plays on it. But this series being tied up is bad for the Bucks because without Giannis, this team is at its most vulnerable. And they already shown that they could be an inconsistent team even when he's healthy. And the Hawks have shown throughout this whole playoff run that they can really light it up in 2 to 3 minutes and put you away like we've seen today. And when they're active and they're going at you and they're literally attacking you from the paint, the mid-range, and the threes, they're three-level scoring. And that's the best and most efficient offense. And that's what they did tonight, and the Bucks could never really score enough points to become a real threat to the Hawks, and their defense wasn't at its all-time best, which opened up for the Hawks to be able to cut them open, and they just couldn't stop the bleeding. This is going to be very interesting to see how this is going to play out because it looked at one point that it was going to be Giannis and the Bucks going to the finals, and now with Giannis down and Middleton having inconsistent games where 1 minute he looks unstoppable, the second minute he just looks like an average starter, and Drew Holiday sometimes, which we've seen throughout this whole playoffs run, can't make a shot. Drew Holiday can make 2 or 3 shots in a row, and that's the best he can usually do. He has been shooting terrible against Miami, against the Nets, and even now against the Hawks. And now you need him to have his best games that he can have on both ends of the court because you're 2 games away for being eliminated. And with it being tied up 2-2, the Bucks will have home court advantage. Chris Middleton does play at home better than he does on the road, and the last 3 games, 2 of them will be with the Bucks at home. So that's going to be something to keep an eye out on, and they're really going to need him and Holiday to earn their money. Brook Lopez has shown that defensively, sometimes he's just a liability, but they're going to have to rely on him. People keep saying Bobby Portis, then Bobby Portis is going to have to play huge. He's going to have to be an X factor and a difference maker when he's on the court because somebody's going to have to get significant minutes now that Giannis won't most likely be playing. And if you got to rely on Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez, I don't know if that's a good thing because they haven't really played well, especially on both ends of the court. And when they do, it is usually against smaller teams. Now, this team can go small, but they also have Collins. They also have Capella, and Okongwu was pretty decent for them tonight, finishing in the paint and also rebounding. So the Hawks do have multiple bodies that they can throw in that power forward and center, and the Hawks also can go small, and we know that this team can get hot. The Hawks literally have a bunch of guys that can literally let that thing go, and I feel like the Bucks was bad communicating where guys should be at and letting guys get space. They kept moving even when the ball got to them, and guys just literally stepped into a practice three throughout this whole game, and that just can't happen if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. Guys should not be getting wide open threes when this team is known for having shooters. If you know this team is going to have shooters, that means you have to stay attached to these shooters, not give them room, not give them space to let it fly without contest. And you can't literally let them release the ball, then jump in and make it seem like you're contesting it. That ball is already out of their sight. That ball is already in the air. You ain't really affecting the shot unless they are about to release it. If they already released it, you ain't really doing anything but making it look like you're playing defense. And I ain't that stupid because they ain't how it work. We all pooped before. If you letting that ball fly, you letting it fly. You have to stop me or get into me before I let it fly. And the Bucks just didn't do that tonight. And it's unfortunate because this game was huge for them. And now I'm kind of wondering who is going to win this series. And if Trae Young comes back, he won't be 100%, but that gives them another weapon that can really cause chaos to the Bucks defense. And with them being inconsistent offensively and not having their best player either in Giannis Antetokounmpo, is going to be trouble for the Bucks. But they still have enough talent and they still can win this series. I'm not saying that it's over. I'm not saying that they will lose now, but those are facts that we have seen throughout their playoff run. Those are facts that we have seen throughout this series, and I'm just bringing them to the front if you forgot. Other than that, I'm going to look forward to watching this series. The Hawks, I didn't expect them to get this far. The Bucks came in as the favorites to win this series even before Trae Young went down. And now I want to see how people change, how they feel now that Giannis has went down with a significant injury that's really going to affect him even down the long term if he do decide to play on it. He barely can walk. He really was limping, and we know he is predicated on athleticism when it comes to his game, and you don't want that to be a lingering problem. Biggest reason why I bring that up, people got to remember when Giannis went down against the Miami Heat in that series where they was in the bubble and they lost in five because Chris Middleton had a great fourth in overtime. Giannis didn't play that next game, and that was an ankle injury. Just imagine a hyperextended knee, and you have to play 2 days from now, and you have to go back home, fly, and stuff on that knee. It's looking ugly for Giannis, and I'd be surprised if he returns in this series because he didn't even want to return in the elimination game against the Miami Heat and he had a bad ankle. And sometimes you got to do what's best for you. Sometimes you have to do what's best for your career. And sometimes you're willing to sacrifice it all for a championship. The reason why I say that, they're 2 games away from being in the finals, and you never know what happens then. And you could win your first ship and bring one to Milwaukee, or you could go down with a more significant injury and affect the entire season that's coming up too, while also probably losing the series because you went out there and played and you can't play no more, and now you're out for the rest of that series, plus out for majority of next season, and now we don't really know what you're going to be after that. So be cautious, be calm, and just allow these guys to take a break, relax, get their game ready for Friday, I believe, and see what the Bucks can do. They got enough talent, they got enough weapons, and they do have great defenders when they're engaged and locked in. So they can still win this series. If anything, they should win it because they still have 2 All-Star caliber guys, and the only All-Star caliber guy they have is Trae Young, and we don't even know when he's literally going to come back either. So it still should be the Bucks being able to win this series, even if it takes them 7 games. And on top of that, the Game 7 will be at home in Milwaukee for them. So that'll definitely help, and that'll give them some comfortability if it does go that far. Other than that, let me know. Should you panic? Is they done? Will they not win a championship now that Giannis suffered a significant injury, or do they have enough to still make a finals run and win it all? Or do you think now that Giannis went down, it's going to be the Clippers, it's going to be the Hawks, or it's going to be the Suns that win a championship? Whatever you think, let me know in the comment section below. Quinn Wade, basketball analysis, signing out, and I'll see y'all hopefully tomorrow. Enjoy your night.